just to keep it moving along. So I'm going to diverge away from the presentation a little bit. As we start the reporting section, I want to look at Multi-Hub, which is our reporting platform that we use that gives your teams access to all the metrics that the paid media team is seeing, as well as organic media. And if you have a website with us, you get some metrics there as well. But I want to focus in on the paid media reports specifically. So over on the Multi-Hub dashboard, if you're looking at a property-specific view, this is what you'll see on the first report, which is titled Performance Overview. This gives you an overall look at generally how well your ads are performing on the Google side of things. So you can see a lot of the metrics that I discussed earlier in that Performance Overview section. The numbers below it that you're seeing in green are listed to show the trend relative to the time frame we have selected. So since we have a 30-day date range up in that top right of last July, it's reviewing the previous 30-day performance and then comparing the two. So you can see a lot of improvements across all the metrics compared to last year for this property specifically. These next two sections, more beneficial if you are viewing multiple properties at once. So property KPI breakdown. If you had multiple properties in this view, you would see all of them lined up, comparing them conversion rate wise and comparing them in terms of how many leads they're seeing as well. The ad network breakdown is, since we're just looking at Google Ads, it's just going to encompass all of Google Ads and show that 100% of the cost is being spent on Google Ads, and then 100% of the clicks are coming from Google Ads as well. And then similar to what you just see above, just in more of a table format, the property KPI table lists out your ad spend, your clicks.
Jordan, they can't see. Can you do that?
Yep, no problem. Thanks for letting me know.
No worries. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Thanks for catching that. All right, I'll run through it quickly. So the performance overview at the top, sorry for the people on virtual, I didn't know you couldn't see. That'll list out a lot of the metrics that I already discussed, and then that number below there just shows the trend line based on the time frame that we have selected. The ad network breakdown, since we're just looking at Google, that'll show 100% of the costs and clicks are being spent on Google. The property KPI breakdown, that's beneficial if you're looking at multiple properties at once, so you can see how each one compares to each other. And then the property KPI table below that goes through the same metrics that you saw above, but it just lists it in a table format. You can see the trend next to each metric. Again, it's comparing the previous time frame to what we have selected. If we have a 30-day time frame selected, it's going to compare it to the previous 30 days. You can see ad spend, clicks, average cost per click, click-through rate, leads, cost per conversion, and then conversion rate as well. Since click-through rate and our cost or conversion rate are meeting KPIs, they're highlighted in green as well. And then you can see this number right there is the trend line for each individual KPI. And then that's also notated with a red or a green marker. If it's green, it's showing a positive trend. That means it improved over the previous time frame. And if it's a red, that means it came down or dropped over that time frame. So that's the performance overview. That's the most general overview for each property you're looking at. Or if you're looking at a set of properties, you can use this view as well. The next report on the paid media side is the all campaigns report. So depending on what time frame you have selected, this will vary. If you have campaigns running during this time frame, they'll show below. So it'll list out any campaigns that we currently have active in the account during that time frame. So if you switch it, right now it's showing June, but if I look back to our previous time frame of July of last year, you can see the campaigns may switch or they may not, just depending on.
Do you mind explaining campaign level, ad group, keyword?
Yeah. So each individual campaign, so just these three base that are listed here for July of last year. 2 of the campaigns are listed as non-branded. That means the campaign is targeting non-branded keywords. So any keywords that are not including your community name or the name of the property, those would be labeled as non-branded. The non-branded, non-local, those are going to target users that are in the area that we have selected for a location target and also that have interest in the location. So that's where you'll pick up some traffic and leads that are coming from outside the immediate location target that we have set up. And then the non-branded local campaign only targets users in that area. So if we're looking to target a specific town or a specific city, we want to make sure we implement that in the local campaign because we're signaling to Google that we want to serve ads to the users that are currently located in and reside in, more frequent that area as well. So that's the main difference between the 3 search campaigns. And then within each campaign, you have ad groups, which are essentially subset of keywords that all relate to the same overall search query. And then inside of the ad group, you have keywords, which are the individual search queries that need to be elicited for our ad to appear. In this breakdown, this report will list out all these campaigns that we have active in the account for the time frame that we have selected. You can see the cost per acquisition, the cost per lead is listed here, and then also the number of conversions we have for the property are listed there as well. If you had multiple properties up in this view, we would do the same thing for each property so you could see how each one compares. And then same thing here for cost per click. It measures the cost per click and then also the clicks. Since both of these metrics are relatively similar in terms of the data they use, the clicks and the cost per click, it's a good comparison tool for data like this. Any other questions on this report? Next, we have the top performers. So if we were targeting areas in different states, this will look a little bit different. Now, since we're just focused on a certain area of, or certain state, I should say, it's only going to show the state of Georgia. But if we were trying to target other states or we saw an influx of users or potential prospects from other states or areas, you could analyze how each state is performing based on the location targets we have set up. This is also really useful if you have a lot of different properties that you're measuring that are in different states. You can see what the conversion rate is for properties in Georgia, and you can compare that to the properties that are in Florida. So really useful, again, if you have multiple properties that you're trying to review for performance. This next section is our budget recommendation overview. So this lists out the current budget that we have for the property, the current conversion rate, and then the number of leads that we saw in the selected time frame. And then it gives you a couple additional budget options. Basically, if you were to drop your budget to a maintenance budget and lower it, if your property was more stable, you can drop it to whatever number is listed there, and that'll be your expected number of leads. And then vice versa, if you wanted to increase the budget, your budget will be listed there, and then you can see the number of leads you'd receive in that case as well. So the number to the far right is always going to be greater than your current budget, which will elicit more leads, and then vice versa. When you see the maintenance budget, it's usually cutting the budget by, say, 30 to 40%, and then you can see the change in overall leads as well with that budget. And again, it's for the selected time frame that you have. If we move that to quarterly from the monthly time frame that we have set up, the lead amount would increase.
Is that just using a formula based on quick CDR, current leads?
Yeah, mainly it's using what we have for data. So if you look at this report at the beginning of a property, it can be kind of skewed. Like if you looked at it for the first week and the property did really well in the first week, it's going to say that like if you increase your budget by X amount, you're going to see like a ton more leads. So I would like advise not to use this report probably until like 90 days out, just so it has enough time to like get the conversion data. But after that, yeah, it's pretty accurate just to basically say if you keep that current conversion rate, what type of amount of leads you could see and what they would recommend for a maintenance budget based on the keywords we have running, based on the ad groups we have running, and then vice versa with the fire drill as well. Any more questions on this report? And then next to the keyword and ad copy report, this probably has the most stuff on it. A lot of different aspects to this report. This first filter section, you can filter by campaign. So if you only wanted the data for the non-branded local campaign, you can check that off. And now it's only showing the performance for the local campaign. Similarly, you can filter by ad group as well if you just wanted to see specific ad groups that are running in the local campaign. So if I just wanted to see performance for studio apartment keywords that we have active in the local campaign, this will be the performance that we see for that. As you can see, that ad group had 4 conversions at a nearly 9% conversion rate or in the previous month. And then it also lists out different metrics up here for click-through rate. It lists out your click-through rate for exact match keywords, phrase match keywords, and broad match keywords. The variation between those keywords is broad match increases the intent and ability for your keyword to serve. Phrase match varies a bit differently in terms of what users have to search for the ad to be served. And then exact match, if you provide a keyword and list it as exact match, the user has to search that exact phrase for the ad to serve. So they just vary a bit in terms of when your ad is able to be served. But we give the ability to look at click-through rate for each of those different keywords. And if you scroll a bit further, you can see down here as well, the performance by each keyword and the match type. So it actually lists out what type of match type the keyword you're looking at is, and then what type of metrics it's seen. This really quick. So click-through rate is listed there, the number of leads, the conversion rates. You can see a lot of the leads, all the leads came from the broad match variation of studio apartments for rent in Atlanta. So that gives you a little bit more of an in-depth overview of what type of keywords are working and also what type of match types are working as well. Yeah.
In review of the performance of these keywords here, you see that the broad match seems to be performing quite well in the exact match. As somebody who's optimizing these keywords, what does that tell you?
So at face value, it would tell us we'd want to shift more budget into the broad match. I think when we're talking about different types of keywords and the broad match variations, we would want to likely go to the on-site team and say, what type of forms and phone calls have you received about studio apartments, since we're seeing a ton of influx of users from the studio apartments for rent in Atlanta broad match variation. What type of users have you seen, and are they qualified enough? Because the broad match will broaden the ability for your keyword to serve that ad for. So Google's basically putting less barriers around the keyword. So when you put less barriers around the keyword, you're opening the door for more unqualified traffic. So even though you might see stronger performance from the broad match variation, instead of immediately shifting all the budget into that, we'd want to contact the on-site team, get some feedback from them. What type of performance have you seen for studio apartments in terms of leads to leases, and then make the decision from there. But it's not always a great indication of just invest more into that. You want to make sure the intent and the quality of the leads are there too.
Can we just define those terms a little bit more?
Yeah. So broad match, if you implement a broad match keyword, Google will rank your ad for that exact keyword. It'll rank it for the phrase match variation, so any combination of those words. And also, if there are related terms to those keywords as well, your ad would rank for that. So if someone, an example of where you would see an unqualified lead come through, if someone searched studio apartments for rent Atlanta under $800, our ad might serve for that, which means then if that person sees the ad, they're going to think, I can rent this apartment for under $800. If you have apartments for $2,000 and they submit a form, they can't afford it, that would be an unqualified lead. So that's a case where you have to be careful with broad match. The one benefit to broad match is since it opens the reach a bit more, you're able to target a lot more users. You usually see leads increase pretty substantially, but you have to be careful of the unqualified portion of that. With phrase match, pretty similar to exact in terms of what your ad will rank for, but the phrase match, the words can appear in any sort of order. So if someone did apartments studio near me, or any sort of combination of that, studio apartments Atlanta for rent, that would elicit your ad to be shown. And then exact match, they would have to search the keyword and the exact phrase to be shown as well. So exact match is usually elicits the most intent because there's really no room for error there. Someone's searching that exact search query. Phrase match, we partner phrase match and exact match at launch. And then broad match is usually implemented if we're looking to increase the volume of keywords or volume of leads, or if we don't have great performance from exact and phrase match, we'll implement the broad match to test that out and see if performance is a bit better.
You know, what we've noticed with another provider's data, their dashboard, we can see the search queries.
Mhm.
Maybe you want to just define what those two things are, but the broad match search queries are really bad oftentimes. What we've seen, tons of competitor branded keywords that have like 4 apartments in it are matching to a lot of our broad match.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
in general, I've seen less than stellar performance from the broad match.
Yeah, and I would say broad match is normally only implemented on more floor plan related keywords. There's sometimes if we're advertising for a property that isn't in a populated area, the exact and phrase match searches for the floor plans might be really low and so low that Google won't serve ads for those keywords. That's where we'll implement broad match. Otherwise, we have no shot at ranking for any of those, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom keywords. But I would agree that broad match absolutely has in the past unsolicited, unqualified traffic and leads, and generally it's not used, and that's why we don't use it. And when we launch ads, we only use exact and phrase match, and it's only implemented basically as a last resort when volume is really low or performance in a specific ad group isn't up to par. Yeah.
So in that case, so studio apartments for rent, Atlanta, under $800.
Mhm.
Let's say that that's unqualified traffic. Is that where negative keywords come into play, where we would essentially say maybe we throw in under $800 as the negative keyword?
Yeah.
And blocks that out.
Yeah, and we have a subset of negative keywords that are automatically added to the account at the beginning. They cover a large variety of potential negative keywords, but there are some that will slip through the cracks. So that's when we'll look at the search terms report. We'll review the data that we have for this time period, say in June. We might see that exact search pop up in the search terms report. That's where we go and click add to the negative keyword list. So then that exact phrase is no longer able to serve our ads.
So if our team over here, Michelle or Holly or anybody, they want to do a deep dive themselves into this and try to determine why we're not seeing conversions, they need to see that data. How could they get access or see that data? Support ticket, you can send negative keywords and search queries.
Yeah, I know it's something we're working on getting into multi-hub, like the negative keyword list and having that update pretty frequently. That's something we can pull directly from the Google Ads interface as well and send that over. And yeah, so right now it's something kind of internal that we would get through a support ticket if they wanted to see kind of the data on that. But if they came here and they could do kind of an analysis and just look at the keyword report, maybe there is more spend in the broad match keywords for certain floor plans where they're needing more conversions. And that would be an instance where if they aren't seeing a ton of conversions come from a specific floor plan ad group and there's a lot of spend into a broad match variation, we could pause that broad match and then push more into the exact and phrase match. So that's where like the on-site feedback helps us a ton.
If we're introducing a new floor plan or on lease that property, and we update it on the website and then already, does that automatically pull into a plateau where we need to notify you to maybe focus on new single family homes that we're rolling?
Yeah, notification would be great. So through a support ticket, if you send that support ticket and say, we're looking to push these floor plans or we have implemented these new floor plans, that would be great because then we can create a separate campaign in Google Ads and then target those keywords specifically. We can say we want to spend $300 a month on these keywords specifically, and then once we're done targeting those specific floor plans, you can just let us know if we're good on this floor plan, we want to target a different one, or we just want to spread it across equally since we have vacancies across the board. So yeah, support ticket would be great. And then we can kind of go through the process of pushing more budget into those keywords for whatever period of time we have set up.
Same with specials. Do you have any specials that change?
Yep.
Yeah.
We do have general occupancy data and availability, but it's always good because, with operations, you might know that you've got some exposure coming up on specific floor plans where you need just a little extra oomph and push.
Yeah.
Just giving us a heads up and saying, hey, I'd like to really target this floor plan or this special offer, just allows us to just hone in on it, be proactive and get that campaign ready.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions on this report? All right. And then this last report is all the metadata. So unfortunately, this property didn't run ads or doesn't currently have meta ads active. So, but in this case, you would see all the metrics listed here. So costs and impressions, clicks and results. You would see basically the same metrics that you saw in the previous performance report. And then for campaigns here, just like that table in the first performance report as well, you'd have the campaign name listed. If you have multiple campaigns running for Meta, you would see all of them listed here. You'd see the spend, the reach, the impressions, similar metrics that we went over in the terminology deep dive. And you'd see the same type of trend lines that we saw in that first report as well. Awesome.
I think for our AVPs or leadership, the biggest question is what actionable items can they take when they go look at this data to help improve it? You mentioned a couple things, like giving you guys more feedback about targeting, about specials and bedrooms that are available. But in terms of what could Michelle or Holly go do if they're not seeing those, if that conversion rate's too low, what's the best next step? If they're just not getting leases.
Yeah, so I think the first step, I guess, would be if there's specific floor plans that they're seeing lack in terms of leases, I would dive into the keyword and ad copy report and then kind of filter it by campaigns and look into the ad groups that are specific to those keywords. And basically see, is there conversions coming from those ad groups? Are we lacking conversions coming from Google Ads in general? And then that's kind of the next steps I would take for floor plan related keywords. I think in terms of the performance report, this is like more of a general overview of, you know, kind of what the metrics are for the given time frame. I think if the case is we're meeting KPIs on our end, so say we have this data showing here where we're meeting KPIs across the board here, if the results are not coming through from the on-site team in terms of we're not seeing leads turn to leases, that might be beneficial to then submit a ticket and just let us know that we're not seeing the type of return that we may be seeing on the multifamily or the multi-hub report. I think this can be used to basically compare the on-site performance from what we're seeing on the paid media team. And if there's a discrepancy, that's a good way for them to just let us know. And then they can utilize the support ticket, send us something and say, we're not seeing, you know, great results coming from Google Ads. We may need to dive deeper and look at what we can do to improve that. I would say that's kind of the first steps that I would take if that would be most helpful for us.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, you're not reaching all those KPIs, the ones that RAM sends out. Send a ticket into replies, take a deep dive, kind of look at the ad groups, see what's underperforming. If you have a one bedroom exposure and your one bedroom ad group is underperforming, not getting conversions, then you need to figure out that, get them to help change the ad copy or their targeting or the keywords, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a question. So with your on-site leasing teams, your CRM that we're typically using is Yardi.
Yeah,
for the most part. So when they go to, I guess, close out a lead, whether that's unqualified or whatever, does it ask for that final reason for them
there is that option in there.
marking
It's
it?
not super reliable, and most of our teams are not closing out leads. They auto close out after X amount of time.
Got it.
So trying to retrieve that data is not very useful for us.
That's just one thing that we do, Mark. I actually worked on site previously before I started Repli. I was at Cortland, and I was a community manager, and it is super helpful, especially around Google paid ads, of defining a reason when you close out that lead or whether you talk to them. It can be a one-liner where it's like they were looking for something under $800, or they wanted, they were looking for availability down the road, or they just any reason, and then being able to just pull a quick report of Google Ads, PPC traffic, and then just the reasons why they decided not to lease or move in. And that gives us really good insights directly from the site, and it's an export, send it over, and then we've got all of that data around why they did just on that traffic source, because it does really influence how we're bidding on keywords, how we're putting in negative search queries or negative queries, keywords. And it's just super helpful to the team.
Yep.
I know that it's hard to get feedback from leasing teams. That's one of the hardest things in the world. But if there's any, anything that we can harvest, it's just, a one-line piece of feedback when it comes to Google Ads. We don't care about any other sources. When it comes to Google Ads, it's super important because you are spending a big budget on this, and feedback is just important because we can't influence traffic quality.
Mm-hmm. And to hop on that, like if we had a lot of unqualified traffic due to just the inability to afford the apartment, we might want to make pricing more in the forefront of the ads. So we'll pin pricing in one of the headlines so that whenever our ad is served, whatever user is searching that ad is aware of what the apartments start at. So then they may say, well, I'm looking for an apartment under that. So instead of me clicking on the ad, submitting my form for an apartment I can't afford, I'm just going to move on. And it does help us because that leads no good if it's unqualified, and we don't want to be wasting clicks and money on those. So if we see the influx of that type of unqualified traffic, that would be an implementation that the paid media team would make. That would be directly from feedback from the on-site team, and we would implement that, and that would help us kind of deter more of the unqualified leads. So.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, in CRM IQ, the list of options are kind of predefined, right? They can't.
That's correct.
And,
There's
yeah,
a
that's
drop
not-
down menu. You can't really just.
Can they leave a note or anything?
They can leave a note, not in the reason.
I know what
If you pull
It's
the
not a
reasons
full
report.
report.
Gotcha,
it'll give you that
gotcha.
information.
Okay.
Question on that. So I'm not as familiar on the Rent Cafe CRM side. Even though it's a predefined list, are you able to edit that list across the portfolio?
Yeah, we can edit it company-wide, but specific reasons in there.
Because that would be more helpful. Then.
Yeah.
So even if you can't leave a comment, we have like that more specific reason.
Yeah, I mean, if you had some thoughts of what we should put in there specifically.
100%.
We want to keep it,
Yeah, and we can keep it short, and the idea is that they actually use it, and it's not like, when the traffic source relates to balloons. It's like that, nobody. We just have very targeted, small amount of reasons why.
Yeah.
And then it's just, making sure the leasing teams, I know it's tough, but like, just select the most accurate reason so that it can give us data to.
Before we leave today, would there be anybody who could just go over my one property? Just
Yeah,
so
let's
we can
check it out and
dive
see.
into it before we-
Yeah, during our business research portion, I'm not sure what our properties we have on there, but we can tweak that section.
Yeah.
Definitely for this team if possible. I know we have Holly's property on there.
Yeah, she's got one locked up on.
Yeah.
Any other questions on multi-hub for now?
It's a lot of information.
Yeah, I know.
I
It
mean,
is
the
a lot.
first time I got it, I just like,
Yeah.
what is this trying to tell me?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's its own profession, discipline, and practice.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll jump back into the presentation. Amy, I don't know if you want to jump up and just discuss.
This is a good segue as we're talking about some focus properties. And we shared this documentation we created with Jad, so I'm sure Jad disseminated it out to the team, but I'll hop in here just so that they can see and hear me. But it's in the second page of your agenda as well. We just kind of wanted to create some expectations around submitting the focus properties. So really to ensure that our team can provide actionable and accurate insights during these monthly, quarterly business reviews, we need these focus properties submitted at least a week in advance. So like having our team get a focus property a day or two before, it's just not realistic in order for us to provide really accurate, good data. And then Jordan, we worked with agency to kind of come up with these expectations as well. What's doable for them? So I know Jordan provides a list as he's going through of focus properties, but if there are any focus properties that you guys are really wanting us to look into, we will look at up to 7 additional focus properties. And I know Jad and the marketing team kind of work with you guys to figure out what those are in advance. And when you send those in, it would be super, super helpful for our teams to understand why you selected these as a focus property, because we have had some instances where they came in, but those properties might be meeting all of our KPIs. So for us to understand like what you guys are really like, why is this a focus property to you guys is super beneficial for our team. So we have some examples on here as well on the sheet. So, you know, unqualified traffic due to credit rejections or unresponsive leads, things like that. It's just really hard for us to develop good strategy going forward if we don't understand why you guys are viewing that as a focus property. So if properties are not submitted a week in advance, we will not have that on the quarterly business report, but we can provide it for you following that quarterly business review. We just have to have these done in advance. You know, it gives Jordan is not only on one account, right? He's looking at many accounts and creating these business reviews. So just some things to help our team. Yeah.
Just want to jump in there. So I mean, going forward from like last month and forward, Yanni's sending out an email internally to our AVPs like 2 weeks before, asking who needs some additional focus, some attention, some support. And we add that to our list for this monthly call. And then we'll send you the invite to jump on if you need to jump on and hear about it. They're doing a deep dive into it. So that's our process for the moment to get the properties that need attention onto this list. So you'll just need to respond back to Yanni, tell us which properties, and we'll give you a couple of questions. Which properties, why, what do we need to look at? And that's the process to get added to our list.
Any questions on that? Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have on that. So Jordan, I'll pass it back over to you.